Okay, so I guess this won't be a big surprise was that after last week, where you just built the constructor function for the order that I presented the idea of we're going to use, that this week I want you to do two things. I want you to create a form that actually gets those inputs from the user and then calls that. And in this case, you want to refactor the function constructor, whichever way you want to say it, into a class. So those are the two things you want to do. Now I'm going to show you kind of my minimum because I'm going to continue to work on this after today. But I decided, and I think this is a good idea, like just start with the basic functionality. But of course, you having this simulate the idea of a real working example is a good idea as well. Um, so at minimum, right? But don't limit yourself to that, right? I thought do a drop down totally makes sense, right? At minimum, have some validation here. Again, our agreement is that we don't do anything without some kind of validation, our own validation code, and I will do that. But then all I do here is hit submit. That gathers the items that I want, the pieces of information. I need the item name, the item cost, and now the quantity. Now, cost wasn't required here, but of course, in a good working form, you'd want to maybe show that. I've thought about different ways I can make this more real world, but I think it's also just good to get the connection between how you would do this by setting up the form, gathering the inputs, doing the output. And what I ended up doing here was I actually just showed the actual raw data that was used to calculate this total, right? But again, I'm kind of giving you this, and I will push this if you want to just look at it. But my goal by the time you're actually here next week, and I will make sure and post my link. I know because I just actually ended up reading just now a couple of you had submitted week 13. And so I'm at least going to give you some framework to think about how you would do it, and I'm going to extend my example. Okay. So the thing I would say to you before I leave is to think about, right, how you could start if you want to, because you'll have two options when we get to the dev 2, and I'll talk about this more later, about refactoring your dev 1 in a class-based implementation. Okay, you'd still need to have most of the functionality there. That's actually something I'm going to start working on myself. So anyway, hope this helps you out. Again, this is like minimum. I'm going to add more to it by the time next week rolls around to give you that example. I appreciate the folks who said from last week, which is true again this week, right? You want to do your own version of this and then look at how other people have approached it. Now, if you totally get stuck, that's okay to, but you also want to say that. And even if you look at somebody else's, and I know I keep harping this point, but I just can't tell you enough about why it's important, because if you don't give yourself that time to really think and struggle a little bit, that is the place where you learn, right? So if you do look, still write your own code. Come up with how you, now that you understand the concept, how might you do this in your own way? Okay, talk to you later.